But anyway, back to the worst weekend of my life. I also am like, I don't even know how to tell this story because a lot of it is TMI, and I don't think anybody wants to hear it from a like 40-year-old man on a podcast, but it's just got to be said. So I had some sort of skin issue going on this weekend, which is the grossest thing you can have, right? Like you'd rather.
That's what Tarico said when he got the NAACP award.
I'm not a black man. I got a skin issue.
I got a bit of a skin issue going.
Oh, not my skin.
That's great. Yeah, I had some sort of skin issue, man, and.
What part of the body,
In
Kevin?
an area you don't want it, bro. In an area you don't want it. And I go to like a City MD thinking that like they're going to, test me for some shit and like give me a medicine or a cream or something. And I get there and she goes, "You need to go to the emergency room right now." And I was like, oh my God. I was like, I'm just going to like chop my
looked
whole...
that bad?
It was so luckily my dick is safe. Because I think when you start getting like on your dick, I was like, then you really should maybe just chop it off and be done with life. But it was just like my whole kind of like groin area got fucking disgusting, right?
I thought you were talking about the Jets.
I
thought
feel bad for you more than anything. I told him, I was like, I don't know how or if I should tell this. And I was like, I just think about like Jackie having to like be on the show or edit it.
No, but like don't let me hold you back.
I can't. But I'm just thinking about like younger listeners and girls listening, just being like, this is fucking gross. But she was like, this is like beyond City MD Minute Clinic scope. I was like, fuck.
We don't have the tech for your dick.
Now I'm like hoping it is that. I'm like, maybe just give me a good old STD and I'm fine. So I go to the emergency room and I mean it's just like I'm in so much discomfort and pain, and now I'm starting to freak out in my head. And I think a lot of it was almost like stress induced. So now I'm more stressed. So it's just this fucking and it's just I'm thinking, I don't know what it's gonna be. So they start looking, and well, there's kind of two parts to the story, but. So I get to the emergency room, and I'm like walking like a cowboy at this point. You know what I mean? Like if you've ever had like a jock itch or something like that, like it was feeling like that, where it's like the chafing hurts, but it was way worse than that. So I'm like hobbling into the emergency room. And I checked in.
They thought you had something up your ass.
As soon as they saw him, one of those guys. Light bulb.
At this point, I wish. I would rather have been like, I got a toy car trapped in my asshole. So they bring
1,000,001 chance, Doc.
They're like, there's an hour wait for a room. Like, of course there is. So they bring me to this like back section to do like pulse and height and weight and all that, and then they send me back to the waiting room. And as I'm going back to the waiting room, I see this family walk in, and they're all bleary-eyed and like crying. So it's like this family's walking into the emergency room crying.
Ugh.
And I'm like, oh man. And in a quick moment, it put things in perspective. I was like, whatever is going on here, I'm not like this poor family. And they like go up to the window and they start to check in, and then the kid looks over at me, and he's like literally crying, and he's like, "Holy shit, it's KFC!"
No.
And I'm like, "No, oh my god!" And so there's like 2 young boys, 2 young girls, and an older woman, and he says that, and he's literally kind of got a smirk on his face, but like tears are on his face, and his sister turns around, she goes, "Oh my god, it's the Barstool guy. We were just talking about you. Hi, nice to meet you. Our dad just died."
Oh my god.
Like with a dark, like humorous, like chuckle, but like heartfelt and crying, and her brother goes, "What the fuck was that?" And she goes, "Dad loved Barstool. Like he would have liked that. That was a funny moment." And I was like, "Oh my god." And so now I'm sitting there and I'm like, my dick and balls are so itchy and burning, and this family has a dead dad and are talking to me, and I don't know what to do. So,
Oh my god.
It's like a sitcom. Like,
yeah, it really is. So now there's probably about 20 or 30 feet between us. They're at the window. I'm like sitting down. And now that's just been established. I get like a weird like wave from the mom, like, hi. And so I just get up and I go over to the girl who said that, and I just give her a hug. And she explained, she was like, we were just talking about you guys and Barstool. Like, he was a die-hard fan, like would wake up every morning.
Die Hard?
Yeah, did she say Die Hard?
Seems like it was pretty easy to me. Yeah. And she goes, what was the exact word I texted you? She goes like, he would have loved like to meet you. And then someone else goes like, I would take a picture and send it to him, but he's dead.
Oh my god.
And I was like, I love this family, man. Like, I love them. And so they went back to like be with him one final time. And the other guy and girl were the sister's boyfriend and the brother's girlfriend. So they came out and let the family be. And they came out to like talk to me more. And they explained to me he was from Rybrook. His name was Steve Kamen. Shout out to him and his family if anybody knows him. He would like just started a new workout routine, and like every day had been running, and he was on the treadmill, and boom, heart went out.
Oh my god.
This is why you don't exercise. But they were explaining, they were just like, yeah, like the family just has like, he loved Barstool, so like they have a very, kind of dark sense of humor, and they like use humor to get through things. And I was like, fuck yeah, that's awesome. But I also was like, I don't know what to say or do here. Like,
I would have been obligated to say like, what's wrong with me? Just like, I'm just here for my dick.
So, but the guy goes to me like, I hope you're okay.
Yeah.
And I was like, I'll be fine. I'll be fine. And part of me wanted to be like, to finish the story, to fucking seal the deal, put the nail in the coffin, if you will. Be like, yeah, I'm here for a dick rash.
You know your girlfriend that I just hugged real tight?
She should go watch it. Dude, I mean, and then they, then they like come back out and like are leaving, and they were like literally like, nice to meet you. I was just like, oh, that was the weirdest, craziest interaction ever. But I kind of love it. Like at the same time, I love it. Yeah. And the thought that like I will just be a part of their dad's dying story for the rest of their life.
Yeah.
Wow.
Everybody, at least anybody who knows
about you.
Barstool.
Dude, Kevin was texting me about it. Like, I don't know if it was while it was happening or right after.
Right
But
as it was happening.
I was like, I didn't know it was girlfriends and boyfriends involved. I was like, give that woman my number.
The widow.
I love her.
Yeah. The girl, whoever's like, my dad died, he would have loved you, but I'd send him the picture, but he's dead. I'd be like, whoever that is, I want that to be my wife.
Love her. It was so good. And then like, yeah, I'm like literally getting up to go give her a hug. I'm like,
Sorry, got the meanest case of jock itch you'll ever see.
all right, so I am on my way to sit Shiva with the Kamen family. We're gonna finish the story and forever be intertwined. All right, we're here, very bougie, very nice country club. I don't know what I'm gonna say or do, but I am pot committed now, so here we go. The Irish, we do it the same way. We go to the same funeral home every single time, right next to the bar. All right, so I just finished up the Kamen family Shiva, which was not Shiva. That was an Irish wake. I don't know what the Jewish people are trying to tell you about Shivas, but as soon as I saw that, I was like, oh, I know what this is. I can do that. Within minutes, I had a can of Bud Light and a shot of vodka.
Sorry, but my nanny said you don't want to drink, but you got to fucking drink a Bud Light. Cheers. Cheers.
Everybody from his kids and wife to extended family was so, so nice to me. And the welcome that I got was tremendous. Like, truly, I've never seen a response like that in my entire life.
We met in the bathroom. We just met in the bathroom.
I know that this came out of a very tragic story, but I think what came of it is a very
very cool and unique friendship with this family that I think is going to last a lifetime now. Shout out to Jenna, Lily, and Michael, his kids, and the entire Kamen family. Oh my God, one of the most incredible experiences of my life.
I'm going off the rails on a crazy train.
Well, if I ever get put down for rabies, for potential rabies, I've decided, even though I'm Christian, we're gonna sit Shiva. We're gonna sit Shiva the way that the Kamen family did it, because I think they had their like religious Shiva at the house, but the Shiva that I went to was a full blown Irish wake, because I actually, as I was driving up to the spot, was when I don't know why it took me so long to like think about what I was literally going to do. I just was so like, I love the story so much. This is very tragic, but what came out of it was like very funny and very like wholesome. So I was like, I got to do this. Of course, I'm going to do it and like see it through. But then I was like, as I was driving in, I was like, well, what do I literally do right now? Like, what do I say? Where do I go? You know, whatever. So I'm driving up. It's this beautiful country club, and so I get in there, and there's like a woman, like a receptionist desk kind of, and I ask where the Kamen family Shiva is, and she's like, it's right upstairs. And it was rocking. Like I could see and basically hear it. I was like, oh man, this is like a fucking scene. So I was like, is there a bathroom? And she said, like, right before you get in the room is there's a bathroom. So I go to the bathroom, and I'm in the stall, and there's two guys outside. One guy's at the urinal, one guy's like washing at the sink, and I hear them say like something to the effect of like, that podcast segment was crazy. Like, I heard the guy is actually coming, and the other guy was like, no way, he's actually coming like here tonight. And so I like kick out the door, and I'm like, hey, like, I'm here, because I was like, I kept thinking, now that I don't know what's worse, it being like a small family thing where I can walk in and be like, oh, there are the kids that I know, or now I gotta like walk around this whole fucking party until I find them.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah.
Like, is it you? So this guy, I remember I met so many people. I don't know if it's an uncle or a family friend or whatever. He like grabs me like by the back of the neck, kind of like, he goes, do you mind if I walk in with you? And I was like, absolutely. Yeah, let's do it. We walk into this room, and he goes, like, puts his hands up, and he's like, attention, everybody, excuse me, like, quiet down. Like, he's here. Look, he's here. And the reception I got, not even at like our biggest live show, not even at Comedy Central, the Super Bowls, whatever I've ever done in my career, double it. It was like I was a A-list superstar. The amount of phones that just popped up in the crowd. I can't wait to like get that footage, because I think I was like, oh my God. Like, I didn't know what to expect, but I did not expect this. And then it was just a like parade of this family being like, I thought, I was like, I think this is a nice thing that I'm doing, and it sounds like he was a real fan, and like, you know, maybe it's providing a little bit of comedic relief during a tough time. They were like, you do not understand like what you've done for this family. I'm like, okay, like I'll take it, but I'm just like, you know, just showing up to your party basically. Within like 5 minutes, I had a Bud Light in my hand. We did vodka shots. They're drinking martinis. Everybody's just like, you know, telling stories about this dude.
I think Owen had friends there.
Really?
Because someone was like, I was telling Owen about it Thursday, and he was like, oh, someone told me they were doing vodka shots with Kevin the other night. And I was like, wait, at the live show? And I was like, no, he was doing them the next night too, or 2 nights later, whatever it was.
Yeah, I mean, there was definitely like a group of young guys at one point who like eventually I kind of like settled in with for a few minutes that were like, you know, they know, they're asking about like what's going on with the Tate thing, and like they know all the Barstool stories, or whatever. But the amount of like old Jewish family members that were coming up to me being like, I'm sorry, like, I don't know what you're doing, but, like, I don't know who you are or what you do, but you're doing such a mitzvah for us. I got you're a mensch and you're doing a mitzvah 1,000 times. It felt so good. I'm doing at one point, I said to someone, I was like, yeah, they keep telling me I did a mitzvah. And he's like, no, you're doing a mitzvah.
Yeah. Little do they know we've constructed a golem here.
Does it make your dick rash feel like you're doing something?
Staph infection, by the way. It's a staph infection. My life was on the line. Put me down. Get the authorities involved. Does it make me feel what about it?
Just like you're doing, like you're helping a family heal because of it. I would kind of be like, did you have to give me the dick rash? Like if God or whoever was like,
the part of me thinks that there was a little bit of like fate for me to be intertwined with this family for some reason.
Yeah, it's like, I
we
could've
could have
just
done it
hurt
with
my
like
elbow.
I like twisted my knee playing with my kids or something. I need like an MRI.
You wouldn't have gone to the hospital.
Yeah,
for that.
exactly.
You're only going for your dick.
That's exactly what I was
I'm only
thinking.
going for my dick.
That's a great point.
Everything else now.
That's a great point because
God's like, I know what we have to do.
there's only one way I can get him there. It's like Doctor Strange. There's like 14 million different injuries I could have. There's only one that's going to get him to the hospital on that moment, on that night. Because when I did go to the City MD, the doctor was like, you need to go to the ER. And I was like, fuck, if you're saying that and it's about this, I got to go. And then it just made it all the more funny because there was so many people that were like, hugging me and shaking my hands, but also being like, "Are we good here? Like, how's your dick and balls?" I mean, like old family members. There was like the grandma and mothers and women in the family coming up to me and like, "And how's your rash?" I was like, "Oh my god!" Looking back on it, I think you said in the group chat like, I never would have. Offer that information up. Looking back on it, I really just let that one fly.
Oh, you gotta let that fly. It's funny.
Yeah, but also, that's what I mean. That's how we think. I think 99.9% of the population would be like, I'm not going to talk about the weird skin disease on my dick.
Yeah, I mean,
once I knew it wasn't an STD, I was a little more like,
yeah,
not gonna talk about it. It's
my
still
skin's
gross, but I'm not like, hey, I've got herpes on my dick. So once I knew it was that, but yeah, there was, put it this way: if I did not run into this family and have this story, I don't think I would have come into the podcast and just been like, got a weird thing on my dick. But it made it that much more funny that they were going through this like horrible, tragic thing while I'm just like worried about my junk.
And because you talked about it, then they invited you to the
right. That's kind of why. So this dude was like, the ultimate. Like huge. He was buried, I think, in a Patriots and Red Sox like gear of some sort. Like loved Barstool. We're talking like he was.
Oh man, I hope he got to watch the comeback. I don't think he did.
No, I don't think he did. He probably missed it, but he lived it.
Yeah.
He lived it. So yeah, I mean, it was that family. Like the reaction I got was like, you would have thought it saved him or something. You would have thought he's still alive, and it's because of me. I want to be like, it's we still are here for Steve, who's gone. But whatever. I guess anytime you can make it a little bit easier for the people going through that. But I mean, just like the best family, like his sister came over to me, and we were talking, and then her other brother came over. And she was like, "Where the fuck have you been? People have been asking for you. Were you late? Where are you? I thought I had a second dead brother." And I was like, "I love you guys." This is great. She's like, "Are you fucking dead too? What's going on here?" Every single interaction I had was like something like that, like busting my balls or making light of like a horrible. I mean, super. He was like 52 or 53, I think. So like super out of nowhere tragedy. But they are. They're like the best. They're gonna start a foundation in his name for I think like youth sports or something like that. He was like a coach and all that. So I feel like I'll be a part of that or be kind of involved in their.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
it was cool. I was like, I've always kind of wanted to do like something like that, like with a charity or with a foundation, and we do the fundraisers, and there was the Barstool Fund during COVID, but like you can't. It's hard to just like pick one. You know what I mean? You either have to.
You kind of got to fall into it.
Yeah, or like your family member has a disease, or you have the disease, or something happens, and then you have a reason to be a part of it. And now I kind of just have this, a more it's a kind of like cheat code of a way to get into it and not have to go through anything.
I think that's how like you can be charitable your whole life or whatever, but then like when something actually inspires you, then
Yeah,
you like really
yeah.
get involved with that
Right,
charity.
Right. And it's like, youth sports is something, it's a little more lighthearted. It's not like we're like saving, pediatric cancer or whatever.
Yeah.
But I think it's also a fun thing that can like live on. But man, I almost wish, I just rolled in solo. Like I had nobody with me, and because I just didn't even imagine it being the scene it was going to be. But I feel like if we had that moment for, like, if you were behind me with the camera, it was it was wild, dude. It was great. But just like shots all around, everybody hugging me, and but it was just funny thinking, like, people were saying to me, like, do you know what Shiva is? Like, you can't sit in certain spots. You have to like really you have to like follow these rules and everything.
You can't sit in certain
yeah,
spots?
like if you
Isn't it like, aren't the chairs really low?
they're hard. They're
Hard,
hard and low.
yeah.
It's like you can't be like comfortable.
Yeah.
So you can't. So all of a sudden, as I'm going in, people are saying that to me, like, make sure you don't like break their rules or whatever.
Is that why people say sit Shiva?
Yeah, I think so. I
sit.
think you sit in like a uncomfortable spot where it's like you have to just like think about the person. It's like totally silent. At least I think that's what I understand. And I think they did all that shit at home, and then this was like the party. But when I walked in there, I was like, oh no, this is what my people do. This is a full blown Irish way. Maybe I'm now learning everybody has their own version of that. We just call it something different. But I was like, in my family, it's the same funeral home every time. It's the same cemetery every time. It's like, run it back. And the same bar next to the funeral home every single time. So I don't know if that's how they do it there, but it was like, the spread they had, it was like the best party I've ever been to. It's like, boy, I hope it doesn't take just people dying for the party to be this good. But so it was very, very fun. Like when they invited me, I don't think they expected me to go at all, and I was like, there was never even a doubt in my mind. I was like, I am seeing this one all the way through. So I think they should be here probably about now.
Doing well.
I'm a yapper. Yeah.
Yeah, you were bored to yap. It's all right, piece of cake.
Thanks for coming.
Ready? Yeah, you good shit. Gee, how are you? Robin, nice to meet you. First of all, I'm very sorry for everybody's loss.
Thank you.
And forget how to behave. Mental wounds not healing. Life's a bitter scheme. I'm going off the rails on a crazy train.
Who would have thought?
Literally nobody. Like, absolutely not. We were just talking about like the amount of things that needed to all like align for this to kind of unfold.
Thank God for whatever girl gave you that rash.
It's not from that. Not from that.
I like the face Robin just made. Robin just made like, all right.
Are we good over there, guys? Yeah.
Sounds typical.
Yeah.
I swear. It's a staph infection, I swear. All right, so we have the Kamen family here. I was just describing everything from my point of view, but I wanted to get you guys on to just kind of hear your side of things. And obviously this came from something so tragic, but I think in those moments, like, everybody you got to just do whatever can help you get through these things. And I think something like this maybe can, make it a little bit easier, or a distraction, or something, wholesome to come out of something so sad. So even in that moment when I first saw you guys, as soon as you guys walked in, I saw everybody's eyes were teary. I was like, oh boy, like, this is something bad. But then, like, right away, your family was able to kind of joke with me and like smile a little bit. Is that something you guys always kind of been like that? Is that like, did you raise them in that way, or is that?
That's 100% my husband.
This is Robin, by the way. Robin, Jenna, Lily, and Michael Kamen.
That 100% comes straight from my husband.
Was it him?
Who is just the most, hilarious, self-deprecating, sarcastic, witty, brilliant person. And, he lost his parents at a younger age when he was in his teens and 20s. So as a grieving mechanism, I think for his family, it kind of came together as this is how they deal with serious topics sometimes, is to make more of a joke of it. And I think we're all just trying our best as hard as we're grieving to carry on his legacy.
Yeah, I know. Everybody kept saying to me, like, he would love this.
He would have loved if anything, this would be his dream come true. And if God knows that he's watching down on us, like, this is his favorite thing in the world. Yeah, really, truly.
I know.
Besides his family.
He grew up 53 years old, Boston Jew. So followed Portnoy forever.
I know, it's so funny. When I started, it was like I was the Irish guy in New York, and he was the Boston guy, Jewish guy.
Yeah, exactly. So he grew up, or not grew up, but he would read the paper sometimes. He would always, first thing in the morning, he would check his work. He worked in, was a cotton trader, and he would go check Barstool and the New York Post, and that was his daily routine every single day.
Crazy.
So he was constantly on that.
And I mean, that's so, if he's reading the paper, that's, 20 years ago at this point. Yeah. Because, sometimes people will be like, oh, like, we've reached a point where people will be like, oh, I'm a fan of Barstool. It's like they just know, like, the Instagram account.
Yeah.
When the stories the family was telling me, it was like they were talking about Joey Thornton. They were talking about, like, deep cuts where I was like, oh, wow, these really were. And he really was, like, a real Barstool fan.
There was at least once a week that in the family group text, we were all sent a Barstool article.
It would always be, like, an article of someone doing something dumb. You'd be like, look how funny this is. This better fucking not be you.
He's very chronically offline. He didn't believe in any social media. He hated Instagram, hated Facebook. He didn't even have a LinkedIn. So the only way he got his information was from Barstool.
For better or worse, I don't know.
For better or for worse. But he was, like, so fascinated by all these, you always make jokes like the TikTok trends are ahead of the Instagram Reels. Like, he was, like, way after that. Like, he just discovered, like, Haktua Girl. He was really fascinated by her.
Oh, he had one last viral story.
But, yeah, so his information came from Barstool. For better or for worse.
That is crazy. I was just saying, I have never experienced anything in my career on the level of like the reception and love that I got from your family. Even like at our shows where like people are paying to come see us and excited to see us, where the reaction I got from your guys was like I didn't know what to expect. I don't know. If you guys had any expectations or if you thought I was going to come or not.
But so bad when you walked into the Shiva for the first time. You walk in and then it's some random guy's funeral that you haven't even met, some whatever, and you walk in the door not knowing what to expect, and then there's just a million cameras pointing at you. Like,
it was crazy. I've never felt more,
It was like a celebrity guest picker on College Game Day walking into a Shiva. I was like, we have Scotty Scheffler come to Texas. It was like, here's KFC here. Shiva.
Not all Shivas are like that, I will say.
Okay, that's what I didn't know.
Like a mourning. I mean, we were obviously mourning, but like the fact that we were, second you walked in, we're like, let's take shots.
Yeah,
like that is our family.
That's what my people do. That's how we do things. So I was just saying, as I was driving in, it didn't even dawn on me until I was driving in that I was like, I should have maybe had a little bit of a game plan of like what to do, what to say, how to find you guys, all that, and I'm not sure, was it an uncle or just a family friend who brought me in? We happened to be in the band at the same time.
I think it was a family friend.
And he was just like, do you mind if I walk in with you? And I was like, yes, because I need somebody to.
Yeah.
But as soon as I saw what was going on, I was like, oh, okay, I can do this. Like people were like, there's certain rules. You don't want to say this. You don't want to do that. And I was like, I don't think it's that, but like, what if it is? And it was definitely not.
Yeah. So if you arrived 10 minutes earlier, you would have been seeing that we had that 5-minute clip of the podcast on the Jumbotron.
Thank God
the
I didn't come to that. That would have been crazy.
And we, our family, and the majority of my dad's close friends, we think it's the funniest thing in the entire world that we were mentioned and that this whole thing just happened. And so we played the video, and we're dying laughing. Excuse my vocab there. But we're dying laughing. And you could also see, like, we have the fucked up, dark sense of humor that most people get a little uncomfortable by. So, like, we're all watching the video hysterically laughing, and there's a few, like, stragglers in the room that just came to pay respects that were like, are we supposed to laugh? Is
what
this
is
funny?
going on?
Like,
literally made the joke where it's like he said he was a diehard Barstool fan, and they said that in the podcast, and people were like, "Oh, it was easy to die hard for him." And you see the room, like everyone's like, "Whoa, what?" And then we're just cracking up in the back, like, "Yeah, it was pretty easy."
It is weird when you have like that is how you handle things, and then you have to be next to people who don't handle it. I'm very much the same way as you guys, and then I feel like I'm on the other the shoes on the other foot now, where I'm like, we're joking.
I know. Somebody had said they were like, we just played the podcast clip, and he went, some people did not like that.
My grandma sitting there in the back. I was like, oh, okay.
I know. And well, the thing is, the only way I would have ever gone to the emergency room is having a weird, embarrassing situation like that. Everything else, I would have just been like, if I hurt my elbow or my knee or whatever, I'd be like, I'm not going to the emergency room. I'm just going to like wait it out. But I was like, I don't know what's going on. And so like this ridiculous, somewhat gross and embarrassing, absurd thing is like the only reason why I went. And Jackie was just saying, like, God couldn't have hit you with any other sort of like affliction to pass, it had to be that. But that's in a, it's obviously a very dramatic way to describe it. But I think that's the only way I would have ever, ended up crossing paths with you guys. And now I know there's the foundation, and even just knowing that in some way Barstool, I hope, even if it's just a smidge, is helping it a little make it be a little easier. It's a cool thing that, like, there's one in a bazillion shot, and if it made it even a little bit easier for you guys, then, we're happy that happened.
Yeah, no, this whole thing has just been absolutely absurd. Obviously, since he passed, it's kind of just a week of craziness that's happened, and I think this kind of is the highlight, the good thing, the most amazing thing that can come by this. He, like I said, he would send us stuff and be like, you should never be you. Like, I hope you never go on Barstool. Like, okay, who's going to tell me to not go on Barstool now? Like, I'm going to do this.
We'll make sure. I will never put you guys on Barstool. I'll carry that torch for him.
Easy to say a week after.
As they're on the show.
So we were joking also. What you didn't know, obviously, we were just some random people coming in. We're also the biggest Boston sports fans. And I was like, I almost kind of was on Barstool. I'm the same age as Patrick McGillicuddy.
Oh,
so I'm February 1st, 2002. The Patriots won the Super Bowl February 3rd, 2002. So you were saying that stuff, and I was like, oh, KFC doesn't know, but he fucking hates me. I'm his worst.
But I'll say this. The only thing that made it, like, I think I said this to you, I'm so happy he wasn't a Yankees fan.
Yeah.
Because if I had to roll in during the World Series and hear all this Yankee stuff, I was going to be like,
Oh my,
but knowing that, like, Red Sox family made it great.
The goddamn Jets videos, me and him would sit there, play it, and just hysterically laugh.
Yeah,
like, look at this moron. Like, this is awesome.
Yeah. They said he hated the Jets. I was like, why? What's even to hate? Just laugh at it. You don't have to hate us.
We're obviously very, very, very big Patriots fans, but we're also, I think, maybe even bigger Jets haters. Like, that's how we were raised.
Well,
and
I get that as Mets and Yankees.
My boyfriend is a Jets fan, and he's like, I just don't get it. Like, for the last 20 years, we've sucked. Like, why are we consuming your mind? And we were like, it's pure entertainment for us to watch the Jets.
The same
fail.
reason Will Ferrell entertains my mind. It's funny.
So winning becomes easy for us, it's more fun to also hate too. You gotta have something else.
So we were watching the game he passed on Friday, and the Jets-Pats game was on Sunday, and it was just like, I'm not a super spiritual person, but for the Jets to lose in such terrible fashion to the Patriots,
we knew
like
it was
my
him.
dad was orchestrating something up there.
One of your relatives or friends said to me, like, if you didn't put $100,000 on the money line Patriots, like, you are an idiot. And I was looking back, like, of course that was going to be part of the story as well.
He stopped at the Titans, but we got the Jets at least.
He stopped at the Titans. All right, I got other stuff to do now.
Where'd you meet him?
I met him in Boston, actually, through mutual friends. And right when I had met him, he just moved to New York to start trading. And I was still in Boston as a teacher. So we commuted long distance for...
Oh, wow.
Yeah, over a year. And then, obviously, when things got serious, I moved to New York to be with him. And that's where we started our life. We got married in Boston.
How old were you when you met?
I was 25.
Okay.
Are you from Randolph as well?
I am not. I grew up in Wellesley,
Oh, okay.
Massachusetts, so
Very nice.
And some people make fun of us for how we had different upbringings, but it always seemed to work. And we
Why is one like a fancier town than the other?
Randolph's where Gaz is from. Wellesley's nice.
Got it. Say no more. Understand. Those are kind of the best ones, though, I feel like, right? If those can work, they are like, I feel like some of the strongest and best relationships.
And I mean, we just had the best time, married for 27 years, together for 30, the best years of my life. And he made a career out of something that he never thought he would do as well as he did. And
I was gonna say, it seems like he killed it. Like he was very successful.
And all self-made.
Yeah.
And gave me 3 beautiful kids that we're gonna keep raising in his tradition and spirit. So
it's a beautiful thing.
It's a good.
I've seen a lot of like the Instagram pictures and videos of him, like big mug of beer in his hands.
He was the life of the party.
Yeah.
But he sat me down. He told me what to spread in the money line when I was 5. He was like, "You're gonna have to do this."
Well, that's. I mean, he was a trader, right? So it's like that's
exactly.
just like legalized form of gambling,
exactly.
and
That's how you have to do the Yankees.
Yeah. So it was literally that. So I was 5 or 7 years old, whatever it was, when the Celtics were playing the Lakers in the NBA Finals. And I was like, all right, Dad, it's time for me to make my first bet. So he sits me down. He walks me through everything. It was amazing. Then he connects me with one of his buddy's kids, and we make the bet. Celtics beat the Lakers, whatever it was. The Celtics lose. So the bet was the loser had to wear, or I lost, so I had to wear a pink Yankees jersey to school that day. So 7-year-old me.
That's tough.
We show up to our friend's house. They give me the pink Yankees jersey, and I lose it. Like the worst thing in my mind, hysterically crying, throwing a huge temper tantrum, a fit. Other neighbors come out of their house. They're like, is everything okay? Like, I think there's child abuse going on.
Yeah.
So the other dad...
Technically there is.
The other dad felt awful. He looks at my dad. He's like, listen, I feel so bad. Maybe the kids were too young. Like, we shouldn't have done this. Like, he doesn't have to wear it. He's fine. He looks at me and goes, he's wearing that fucking jersey.
Gotta pay your bets.
He ships me off on the bus with me hysterically crying and everyone making fun of me for the worst day of my life. And it was like, what's going on?
Listen, you're probably the man you are today because of that. You learned. You gotta pay your bets. You gotta.
David taught thick skin.
I had to have thick skin.
But so another that he was self-made, and one of his goals obviously was to see a Patriots Super Bowl, and then also to bring his whole family to the Patriots Super Bowl. So we went to the Falcons Patriots Super Bowl in Houston, Super Bowl 51.
Wow.
And
So
Jenna,
obviously, I mean, it's 28-3. I have this memory like engraved, and I'm in 7th grade. To be honest, I knew nothing about football, but I just knew that I had to be a diehard Patriots fan.
That's the rule.
So we're like losing, whatever, and I'm like, Dad, can I ask you a question? What's the difference between a kick for 1 point and a kick for 3 points? And he looks at me and he's like, I'm going to kick you out of this. Like, I've never seen him so angry, but he wanted...
A fair question.
Yes.
I was just so excited to be able to, like, I've done it, like, I can do it, I can bring my whole family.
I mean, bringing
like,
your whole family to the Super Bowl
he was
is
like, that was his moment, like,
Yeah.
That is an achievement.
He wasn't a material guy, he didn't like to spend much money, but it was kind of like, sports and football is so much to me. If I can have this moment and share with my family, this is amazing. And then Jenna made that comment, and he was like, that was the dumbest fucking decision.
He wanted to slap me right there.
that Super Bowl, we have Hank to thank for that win.
Yeah,
that was
one of our producers. Where did you watch it, from the bathroom? Or
Hank, no, that one was from the concourse. Hank, I don't know if you guys know, he's a producer on Part of My Take, or he's kind of a host on Part of My Take now. But he would always... It started with the Seahawks Super Bowl, for the first time he did it, where that one he watched from the bathroom. And then we were at that game, at the Pats-Falcons one, and he would go for the fourth quarter. If they were losing, he would leave for the fourth quarter. And he looked at me like with almost like the most passion I've ever seen from Hank. He's like, I can't be here anymore. I got to go. And he left, and he just stood on the concourse at Houston. It was an RNC, whatever it's called.
NRG.
NRG. I knew it was letters. And he left, and he came running back up after the game, and like I saw him, and it's the happiest I've ever seen him. And he's like, "I did it! I did it!" Like, I don't know how much it was you, but
I love the video of the Rams one of Portnoy getting dragged out with his limp legs, and he's like, "You can't take me out of here without me trying."
That is the Rams one. I was at that Super Bowl with my dad, and there is a difference in going to a game like that. Like you've been to big games and all that stuff. But like going to that game as a family or with your father is different. Like I've been to hundreds, thousands probably games with my dad. But when you're at the Super Bowl, you're like, wow, we are
Well, there's
here.
so much to it. It's like, it's obviously the Super Bowl, and there's a certain amount of, like, you know, there are families that their team never even gets to go to the Super Bowl, and then being able, you're successful enough that you can bring your whole family. It's kind of like, you know, not to be dramatic because it is just being like sports fandom, but it's like the culmination of him. It's like, I was a sports fan, I worked hard, I did well enough that I can bring, you know, 5, 6 people, whatever it was, to the Super Bowl is, you know, I'm sure that for him was, you know, the pinnacle. So, well, I hope that, you know, we kind of stick together for forever now. I know that the foundation is
once
going
that
to be there.
staph infection clears up.
Yeah. Keep your distance. Keep your distance.
Yeah, one of you guys, you said you hugged my girlfriend. I was like, yeah, you're not coming now. Like, you're not going anywhere near her.
That was so funny too. Just the amount of people who were like grateful, but then being like, "How you doing? What's going on there?"
Kevin walking in like a cowboy who just crossed the prairie.
No, but I also think what you said, the nature of your being in the hospital is what makes the story even greater. Like, when I sent you that DM, like, thank you for like the hug, thank you for whatever. Hope your dick and balls are feeling better, by the way. But like,
that's when I knew. I was like, all right, we're gonna get along.
Yeah, but oh my god, my dad is hysterically laughing right now, and we know that for sure. And just being here and talking about him, and you know, this legacy will live on through the foundation, through this podcast, through us. And yeah, he loved sports, he loved coaching, he loved being a father, he loved being a husband. Like, everyone probably says this about their dad, but there was no one like my dad. Like, truly, truly, truly. And I would trade this amazing experience just for one more hug from him more than anything. But he's laughing and he's proud and he loves you too. And
yes, he really does.
He's sitting here with us somewhere right now.
Not enough.
You should definitely trade this, by the way.
Yeah, definitely trade
for
this.
sure. Trade this.
Yes.
Well, I didn't know. I'm happy. In the moment, I was like, you were just so funny about it.
I was delusional.
I know.
Delusional.
I think your boyfriend said something like, what the fuck was that? But I was so taken aback, and I didn't know what to do, and I was just like, I'm just gonna go hug her because I don't know what else.
And I was like, he's the nicest person ever. He's so nice. Like, it was so nice, and I was just like, I mean, it was half an hour ago that I found out that my dad was dead, and then I was in the hospital, and you were there. I was like, what the fucking fuck? Like, how is he here right now? And my dad just died, and what's going on? And it was just hilarious. You were so nice to come to the Shiva, to have us on the podcast.
We really didn't think you were showing up. That was
it was a stretch.
amazing.
We're sitting there. We're like,
I was like, I'll just DM him the info.
Yeah, we just played the.
I'm happy you did because I was never gonna like ask to or whatever. But once the invitation was extended,
we like they played the clip. Everyone's sitting there, and it's like, oh, Jenna said he like invited him. Like, nothing happens. And then we're all sitting on our phone. It's like, you've been tagged in a post by KFC Barstool. We're like, what the hell? And then we just open it up. It's like, I'm on my way to shit. I've never done this before.
I debated that too because I was like, if I'm going to do it, I want to surprise them. But then I was also like, I don't know, that's not a time you really want to be surprised or like you should know. Yeah. So I gave a little bit of heads up, being like,
so when I saw your first reel that you posted, we had 2 Shivas. We had one at our house and then the one you came to. So the one at our house was on Tuesday after the funeral, and it was just a very overwhelming day. So I was sitting in my bathroom, I think with 1 or 2 other friends, and all of a sudden I locked my door, and there's knocking on my door. They're banging. They go, it's an emergency. It's an emergency. I go, what? Did my dad die? Like, he's already dead. Like, I mean, what? And they're like, KFC just posted a reel about you. And I was like, oh my God, I'm famous. I made it. I'm done. I'm done. Yeah. So, but it was just unreal. And then after the funeral in Shiva on Tuesday, we went to my dad's favorite dive bar in Port Chester, Sam's. And he would have loved that. We were with his college friends. We're exchanging stories. We're drinking beers. And that's how we spent my dad's funeral, was at a bar. And that's how we do it. And that's how
we wanted it,
yes.
right? I mean, that's...
Always finish your beer. Never, ever, ever leave a drink unfinished. He would,
I've seen him eat someone else's plate of chicken wings because he didn't...
can't leave it.
No waste.
Like, there was a little bit of meat on the bone, and he would take someone else's wings and shove them in his mouth. Disgusting. I don't know if that was him being cheap or just, like, disgusting. It was a mix of both.
He would make sure to take all of our food and he would lick our own chicken wings.
Crazy. He'd do the chicken wing. He'd bite the bone.
It's one thing to like finish the burger. The bone has been.
No, and then when you go to a steakhouse and you get like the T-bone, he's the one
We
that's
have a
like
million pictures of him like
on the steak.
Peter Luger is at the nicest steakhouse you could be. He's like
on the
That's great though. Well, again, I'm happy. I know sometimes in my experience, I've never had anything quite as traumatic as this, but anytime I've lost somebody, like you said, in the beginning, there's so much hoopla and so much going on that it's still there in a way, and they're still a part of it. And I know after that dies down is sometimes when it can be the hardest. So if there's anything we can do to make give you a laugh or help with the foundation or the podcast, whatever it may be, I feel like KFC Radio gang is kind of here for you in any possible way going forward. So
speak about the foundation, or do you
no? So yeah, I only heard that you were going to do one for youth sports, but if you want to give more details about that, we can.
He was like all three of our coaches for every youth soccer, everything but soccer, everything but soccer, basketball. I mean, so nothing meant more to him.
Wait,
than
who's
sports.
the best athlete?
Quick hand.
No, it's so me.
I played the most sports.
You're out.
Right,
it's you're out. It's
It's
between
definitely
the two
not
of
me.
us.
I got cut like from every sport young, so I got to go play golf, which was great because now I'm the best golfer in all my friends.
In the long run,
And
that's
they're all
play.
jealous. I'm a 9 handicap now.
Yeah,
8
good for
handicap.
you. You can play basketball in 7th grade. I'm
I
going
was
to
like,
play
go
this
have
for the
fun.
next 50 years.
Exactly. Like now I'm taking all my friends' money.
Girls varsity basketball captain. I mean,
I was tennis.
of a school
We
of
all had our
120
own.
people in a class. There were 2 senior girls on the basketball team, and they made them both captain by default. But so what I actually said in my eulogy is, so Rybrook, where we're from, is a very small town. It's not a super athletic town either. If you're good at sports, like you go off to like a private school, like you don't stay in Blindbrook.
Right.
So he would come to my room after games, and he would he drilled me about everything. He's like, your pivot foot wasn't strong enough down. Like your follow through was. I would make the basket, but my follow through wasn't good enough. So every night he would drill me on what I needed to work on for next game. And whenever I sucked, he always told me I sucked. But then when I was good, he would say, "You're good, but you're just Rybrook good. You're not actually good. You're just like small town good. You're not actually good."
Gotta keep you in check.
Yeah, it's always
keep you hungry, keep you wanting more.
But so speaking of the foundation, we are raising money for the Steve Kamen Foundation, and we have a GoFundMe set up, which we can give the information for, and we will be donating 100% of the proceeds to disadvantaged youth sports to get them all to play. And my dad would have loved that. There was nothing he loved more than coaching. He loved coaching his kids, but he also loved coaching other kids too.
I left when I left the football team. He stayed on as the board of the like small town football whatever you call it. But he was amazing. All he wanted to do was coach, be involved, and just helping people out. So I think that we were debating, do we do heart disease, do we do whatever. It was like he didn't have a heart disease, he just kind of had a heart attack out of nowhere. So we decided this is the way to go, and this is what he would have liked. That's awesome. And I think that resonates with a lot of the Barstool audience as well. So hopefully that can be another thing where we work on together. But I just wanted to give you some love because I mean these are great kids.
They are my rock and they're my world, and they're going to keep me going as always. And just as much as we can joke, and Steve was one hell of a guy. He truly was the best person out there, and a testament to the people that showed up and his friends and his family. He was the most loved human being. I literally cannot think of one enemy he had.
Right. Well, ever. But these guys are so impressive, and they were very funny, but also very strong. So
great things.
I think that's the best, testament to a couple and a mom and dad, is how great their kids are. And so if that's any indication, he was amazing. So
thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you guys for coming.
Thank you very much, guys.
Thank you.
Thank
Nice
you.
to meet you.
I had him. I know. I was like, I want to give him to them, but everyone's like, that might be a line that we can't cross. And I was like,
You me and Tony.
Yeah.
You swore too much.
Okay,
He would get mad at you for that one.
You want to take a picture?
Yes, please.
see your
I
face.
was at home in panic there. I was like, I don't know what's under that table.
I was just gonna say, I see you guys clean up a lot.
Everything checks out, Lily?
Yeah. Just as I imagined.
No, it's too big. Too big.